The metal floors of Nexus Prime Station shook as another transport ship docked. Juan Kim walked down the long hallway, his boots making soft sounds on the cold surface. Around him, aliens of every shape and size moved in the same direction. Some had forearms, others had scales that changed color. A few floated in the air without touching the ground. G1 looked normal compared to them. He was just a human from Earth. Average height, black hair, brown eyes, nothing special about him at all. But he was here at the Galactic Military Academy. Just like all the others, the Academy was huge. It sat in the middle of space, spinning slowly to create fake gravity. Through the big windows, Juan could see stars and distant planets. Ships came and went like busy insects around a hive. This was where the galaxy's best warriors came to learn and prove themselves. "Move faster, cadets," loud voice boomed through the hall. Commander Taeyeon Park stood at the end of the corridor. He was human too, but older and covered in scars. His uniform was perfect, and his eyes were cold as ice. The final trial begins in 10 minutes. Guan's heart beat faster. The final trial. Everyone knew what that meant. It was the last test before graduation. It's a test that many cadets never passed. It's the test that would prove if they were ready to fight in the galaxy's wars. The cadets entered a massive room with high ceilings. The walls were made of thick metal and glass. In the center was a circular arena, about 50 meters wide. Force field generators hummed quietly around the edges. Seats rose up like stairs around the arena, filled with instructors and observers from dozens of worlds. "Attention," Commander Park's voice cut through the noise. Everyone stopped talking. "Today, you will face the ultimate test. Each of you will enter the arena alone. You will face 3 creatures. These are not ordinary animals. They are apex predators from the deadliest worlds we know." A chill ran through the room. G1 felt it too. He had heard stories about the final trial, but he thought they were just rumors. Now he knew they were real. Hyun-Woo Lee stood near Giwon. He was tall and made of living crystal. His body caught the light and threw it back in rainbow colors. His people, the Vorthok, were known for being strong and hard to kill. Even Hyun-Woo looked nervous. "The first predator," Commander Park continued, "comes from Kethmoran, a world where nightmares are real. Comes from the void between dimensions. The third comes from a world where gravity crushes mountains. Together, they have killed over 1,000 trained warriors." Min Ho Cho, an amphibious cadet with green skin and webbed hands, whispered to his friend, "No one has ever survived all 3 at once." "That's not true," said another cadet, a tall, insect-like being with 4 arms. "I heard that 3 cadets survived last year." "They survived by running away," Minho replied. "The test isn't about killing the predators. It's about staying alive." For 15 minutes, Giwon listened, but said nothing. He watched Commander Park and noticed something strange. The commander's eyes kept looking at him, not at the crystal warrior or the insect cadet, or any of the other obviously dangerous beings. Just at him, the ordinary human. "The trial will begin with our first volunteer," Commander Park announced. Cadet Guan Kim stepped forward. The room went quiet. Guan felt every eye turn to him. Some cadets looked surprised, others looked sorry. For him, a few looked relieved that they weren't chosen first. Giwan walked to the arena's edge. His legs felt heavy, but he kept moving. He had trained for this moment for 2 years. He had studied every fighting style the Academy taught. He had pushed his body to its limits every day. But he was still just human. "Cadet Kim, Commander," Park said, his voice softer now. "Are you ready?" Giwan nodded. "Yes, sir." The force field around the arena flickered and disappeared. Giwan stepped onto the smooth floor. It was warm under his feet. The arena's walls were high and smooth, impossible to climb. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. Above him, the observers watched from behind thick glass. He could see alien faces pressing against the windows. Some were taking notes. Others were making bets about how long he would last. Instructor Sun Woo Nam, a mantis-like being with green skin and large eyes, leaned forward in his seat. "Interesting choice," he said to his colleague. Why start with the human? Instructor Cuban Lim, who looked like a cloud of glowing gas in a special suit, replied, "Perhaps Commander Park wants to get the easy one out of the way first." But Commander Park heard them. He turned and looked at both instructors with a strange smile. "Easy," he said. "You clearly don't know much about humans." In the arena, Jaewon stood in the center. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His grandmother had taught him to do this when he was scared. She had lived through the resource wars on Earth when humans fought each other for water and food. She had survived when millions didn't. Remember, she had told him humans are not the strongest or fastest, but we are the ones who are still. Here, when everything else is gone? A loud sound echoed through the arena. Metal doors on 3 sides began to open. Behind each door was darkness. From that darkness came sounds that made even the alien observers uncomfortable. Growls, clicks, and something that sounded like reality being torn apart. 3 apex predators, Commander Park announced to the crowd, released simultaneously. Cadet Kim has 15 minutes to survive. The trial begins, now. The first shadow moved in the darkness, then the second, then the third. G1 opened his eyes. He was ready. The galaxy was about to learn something new about humans. The first door opened wider. From the darkness came a sound like wind through broken glass. The observers in the seats above leaned forward, trying to see what was coming. Even the alien instructors, who had seen this trial many times before, watched with careful eyes. "The Shadowfang," Commander Park announced, his voice echoing in the arena. From the nightmare world of Kethmoran, the creature that stepped into the light was wrong in every way. It looked like a wolf, but twice the size. Its fur was black as empty space. But the strangest thing was how it moved. Solid. Sometimes it looked like smoke. Sometimes parts of it disappeared completely. It can phase through solid matter. Instructor Sun Woo Nam explained to a younger teacher beside him. Walls, armor, weapons, nothing can stop it. It reads thoughts to hunt its prey. The Shadowfang's eyes glowed red. It looked at Giwon and tilted its head. Then it smiled, showing teeth like broken stars. It could smell fear and it was hungry. But Juan did not move. Stood in the center of the arena, watching the creature with calm eyes. This surprised some of the observers. Most cadets would be running by now, or at least reaching for weapons. But Yuan just stood there. The second door opened with a sound like reality breaking. The air around it twisted and bent. Colors that had no names flickered in and out of existence. The observers felt sick just looking at it. "The Void Ripper," Commander Park said. "A creature that exists between dimensions. This predator was harder to describe. It had tentacles, but they came from nowhere and went to nowhere. Its body was sometimes there and sometimes not. It could reach through space itself to grab its prey. When it moved, the air around it cracked like broken glass." "Fascinating," whispered Instructor Cuban Lim. "It's partially in subspace. That's why it's so hard to track." The Void Ripper made a sound like screaming metal. Its tentacles reached out, testing the air. Some tentacles were solid. Others were like ghosts. It was impossible to tell which was which. 2 alien cadets in the observation deck looked away. One of them, a bird-like creature with silver feathers, said, "How is anyone supposed to fight that thing?" "You don't fight it," replied his friend. "A creature made of living rock. You just try not to die." The third door began to open. This time, the sound was different. It was the sound of something heavy hitting the ground. Each step shook the arena floor. The lights flickered as something massive moved in the darkness. "The Nethermaw," Commander Park said. "From Gravian Prime, where the gravity is 12 times stronger than Earth normal." The creature that emerged was built like a living tank. Its skin was dark gray and covered in thick plates that looked like armor. It had 6 legs, each ending in claws that could cut through starship hulls. Its head was long and narrow, filled with teeth that could bite through metal. But the most frightening thing about the Nethermaw was its speed. Despite its size, it moved like lightning. On its home world, it hunted creatures that could run faster than most spaceships. Here, in the lighter gravity, it was even faster. "Look at those claws," said Hinwu Li, the crystal cadet. "They're longer than my arm, sharper than plasma cutters," added Minho Cho. "I heard it once killed an entire squad of soldiers in seconds." The Nether Maw looked at Ji-Wan and made a sound like grinding metal. Its yellow eyes were cold and calculating. It had never lost a fight. It had never been hurt. It had ended 3 military campaigns just by existing. Now all 3 predators were in the arena. The Shadow Fang phased in and out of reality. The Void Ripper's tentacles twisted through dimensions. The Nether Maw's claws scraped against the floor. Together they had killed 847 trained warriors across 23 worlds. "This is impossible," whispered a young instructor. "No one can survive all 3 at once." But Commander Park said nothing. He watched Yuan with strange eyes. The human cadet still had not moved. He stood in the center of the arena, surrounded by death on all sides. "Why isn't he running?" asked an alien observer. The 3 predators began to move. The Shadow Fang started to circle, its form flickering between solid and smoke. The Void Ripper's tentacles spread out, cutting off escape routes through space itself. The Nether Maw crouched low, ready to charge. In the observation deck, the cadets watched in horror. Some covered their eyes. Others couldn't look away. A few were already placing bets on how long Ji-Wan would last. 10 seconds, said one cadet. 5, said another. "He's already dead," said a third. "He just doesn't know it yet." But Instructor Sun Woo-Nam noticed something strange. "Look at his breathing," he said to his colleague. "It's perfectly steady. His heart rate, too," added Instructor Cuban Lim. Checking his instruments, "It's actually slower than normal." "How is that possible?" asked the young instructor. He should be terrified. Commander Park heard them talking, smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Terror is for prey," he said, quietly. "Ji-Wan is not prey." The predators were getting closer. The Shadow Fang's eyes glowed brighter. The Nether Maw's muscles tensed for the killing strike. But something was wrong. The predators were moving slower now. They seemed confused. They could sense something they had never felt before. It was not fear. It was not anger. It was something else. Something that made their ancient instincts scream warnings. For the first time in their lives. The apex predators felt like prey. Ji-Wan finally moved. He took one step forward, then another. The 3 deadliest creatures in the galaxy stopped. Moving, they watched him with new eyes. Uncertain eyes. The arena fell silent except for the hum of the force fields. Even the observers stopped breathing. Something was about to happen. Something that would change everything. The galaxy was about to meet its first real predator. The arena was quiet as death. Guan stood in the center, surrounded by the 3 most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The observers held their breath. Even the alien instructors leaned forward in their seats, waiting to see what would happen. The timer starts now, Commander Park announced. 15 minutes to survive? The digital clock on the wall began counting down. 14:59, 14:58, 14:57. The Shadow Fang moved first. It phased through the arena floor, disappearing like smoke. The observers could not see it anymore, but they knew it was there. Somewhere below, hunting. Its red eyes glowed in the darkness beneath the metal floor. "Smart move," said Instructor Sun Woo-Nam. "Attack from below where the prey cannot see." The Void Ripper spread its tentacles wider. It twisted through space itself, reaching around and through the arena walls. Some tentacles were solid. Others were like ghosts. They formed a web that no normal creature could escape from. The Nether Maw crouched low, its massive body coiled like a spring. Its yellow eyes never left Ji-Wan. It was calculating the perfect moment to strike. Its claws scraped against the floor, leaving deep marks in the metal. But Ji-Wan did something unexpected. He closed his eyes. "What is he doing?" whispered a cadet in the observation deck. "He's giving up," said another. "He knows he can't win." But Commander Park watched with different eyes. He had seen this before. Long ago, on a battlefield far from here, he knew what Ji-Wan was doing. He was listening. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But they were the best at one thing that mattered more than anything else. They were the best at learning how to kill. The Shadow Fang struck first. It phased up through the floor directly beneath Jiwan, its claws reaching for his heart. It moved. Faster than thought, faster than fear. Its teeth were ready to tear and rend. But Jiwan was not there. He had moved exactly one step to the right. The Shadow Fang's claws cut through empty air. Before the creature could react, Jiwan's hand shot out. He grabbed the Shadow Fang by the neck in the split second when it was solid. The creature tried to phase away, but it was too late. Jiwan's grip was like iron. He twisted his wrist in a way that looked simple, but was perfect. Neck snapped with a sound like breaking glass. The nightmare from Kethmorin fell to the ground, dead, silent. Its red eyes went dark forever. Time, 1457. 3 seconds had passed. The observers gasped. Some aliens made sounds that had no translation. Others simply stared in shock. The creature that had killed hundreds of warriors was dead in 3 seconds. Impossible, whispered Instructor Cuban Lim. The Shadow Fang can read thoughts. It should have known where he would move. But Commander Park smiled. It did read his thoughts. That's why it lost. The Void Ripper struck next. Its tentacles came from every direction at once. Some reached through the walls. Others came from above and below. They moved through dimensions that normal creatures could not even see. G1 opened his eyes. He saw the tentacles coming and did something that made no sense. He stepped forward, directly into their path. The alien observers screamed warnings, but it was too late. The tentacles wrapped around G1's body. It began to squeeze, ready to crush him like an insect. But G1 had grabbed something as he moved. A piece of broken metal from the Shadow Fang's claws. As the tentacles tightened, he drove the sharp metal into the exact spot where all the tentacles connected. The Void Ripper made a sound like reality screaming. Its tentacles released Guan and pulled back into the spaces between dimensions. But it was too late. The metal had found its heart, the one part of the creature that existed in normal space. The Void Ripper collapsed. Its tentacles faded away. Like smoke, the creature that existed between dimensions was gone. Time, 1455. 5 seconds total. The arena was silent except for the sound of G1's breathing. He stood over the two dead predators, not even breathing hard. His clothes were torn, but he was not hurt. The Nethermaw was the last one left. It looked at its dead companions with confusion. These creatures had never lost before. They had never even been hurt. Now they were dead, and the small human was still standing. For the first time in its life, the Nethermaw felt something new. Fear. But it was still a predator. It was still built for killing. It charged with the force of a meteor, its claws extended, its teeth ready to bite through metal. The Nethermaw was fast. Faster than anything had a right to be. It crossed the arena in less than a second, its claws aimed at Jiwan's head. But Jiwan had been waiting for this moment. As the creature charged, he did something that looked like madness. He jumped toward it. The observers screamed. Some looked away. Others watched in horror as the human threw himself at the charging monster. But Jiwan was not throwing himself away. He was using the creature's own speed against it. As the Nethermaw's claws reached for him, Jiwan twisted in midair. He grabbed the creature's head and used his own weight to redirect its charge. The Nethermaw's massive body slammed into the arena wall with the force of a crashing spaceship. The impact was so hard that cracks appeared in the reinforced metal. The creature's own momentum had become its enemy, but that was not what killed it. As the Nethermaw hit the wall, Ji-Wan's feet found the pressure points on its neck. Points that he had learned about in his anatomy classes. Points that worked on all six-legged creatures from high-gravity worlds. The pressure was applied for exactly 0.7 seconds. The Nethermaw's nervous system shut down instantly. The creature that had ended 3 military campaigns died without making a sound. Time, 1453. 7 seconds total. G1 landed softly on the arena floor. Around him lay the bodies of 3 apex predators. The creatures that had killed 847 trained warriors across 23 worlds. Dead. All of them. In 7 seconds. The arena was completely silent. Not one person in the observation deck moved. Not one person breathed. They had just seen something that should have been impossible. Juan looked up at the observation deck. His eyes found Commander Park. He was not smiling. He was not celebrating. He just nodded once. The timer still showed 14:53. 13 minutes and 53 seconds remained, but the test was over. The galaxy had just learned something new about humans. They were not prey. They had never been prey. They were the thing that killed predators. The silence in the arena lasted for 10 full seconds. No one moved. No one breathed. The alien observers stared at the impossible scene below them. 3 apex predators lay dead on the arena floor. The human cadet stood among them, calm as still water. Then the chaos began. "Replay the footage," shouted Instructor Sun Wunam, his forearms moving over his control panel. "Show it again. I need to see what happened." "The sensors must be wrong," said Instructor Cuban Lim, his gaseous form flickering with confusion. 7 seconds. That's impossible. In the observation deck, alien cadets jumped to their feet. Some were cheering. Others were arguing. A few just stared with wide eyes and open mouths. Did you see that?" Hyunwoo Lee asked, his crystal body shining brighter with excitement. He moved like he knew exactly what they would do. "How?" replied Min Ho Cho, his green skin pale with shock. "The Shadow Fang can read minds. The Void Ripper moves through dimensions. The Nether Maw is faster than plasma fire. How did he beat all 3? Commander Park pressed a button on his control panel. The arena's force field came back online. Medical teams rushed onto the arena floor to check the bodies of the 3 predators. But everyone knew there was no point. They were dead. Completely dead. "Cadet Kim," Commander Park's voice, echoed through the arena. "You may exit the arena." Juan walked toward the exit door. He did not look back at the bodies. He did not smile or celebrate. He just walked like he was going to lunch, not like he had just done something that would change galactic history. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. In the medical bay, the alien doctors worked quickly. They scanned the 3 creatures. With every instrument they had, the results were the same every time. The Shadow Fang's neck was broken in exactly the right place. The Void Ripper's heart was pierced with perfect precision. The Nether Maw's nervous system was shut down by pressure applied to nerve clusters that most beings didn't even know existed. "This is surgical precision," said Dr. Wan Binyu, the Academy's head medical officer. He was human, but even he looked confused. Each kill was perfect. No wasted motion. No unnecessary damage. Just ... efficient. The recording room was full of instructors and military officers. They watched the footage over and over again. Each time, they slowed it down more. Each time, they became more confused. "Look at this," said General Yemen Ko, a high-ranking officer who had come to watch the trials. Frame by frame, you can see him analyzing each creature before they attack. "That's impossible," replied Admiral Sung Ho Bei, her uniform covered in medals from a dozen wars. "The Shadow Fang attacked from below. Couldn't have seen it coming." "He didn't see it," said Commander Park quietly. "He heard it." Everyone turned to look at him. The commander stood at the back of the room, his arms crossed over his chest. "Explain," ordered General Ko. Commander Park walked to the screen, pointed to Giwan's closed eyes in the footage. He closed his eyes to listen. Humans have excellent hearing. But more than that, they have something else. They have the ability to predict. "Predict what?" asked Admiral Bay. "Everything." Commander Park touched the screen, freezing the image. On Giwan's face, humans don't just react to threats. They anticipate them. They study them. They learn their weaknesses. Then they wait for the perfect moment to strike. The room fell quiet. On the screen, Guan's calm face looked back at them. He did not look like a warrior. He looked like a teacher or a farmer. But he had just killed 3 creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for years. But how did he know their weaknesses? Asked Instructor Sun Wunam. "These creatures have never been studied in detail. Their bodies have never been examined. He didn't know their weaknesses, said Commander Park. He created them. The confusion in the room grew thicker. Alien faces showed expressions that had no names. Even the human officers looked puzzled. The Shadow Fang relied on surprise attacks, Commander Park continued. So Juan made sure he was ready for a surprise attack. The Void Ripper used its dimensional abilities to trap prey. So Juan turned that trap into a weapon. The Nethermaw used its speed and strength. So Jiwan used that speed and strength against it. That's... Admiral Bay started to speak, then stopped. She looked at the screen again. That's not how most species fight. No, said Commander Park. It's not. Most species either run from predators or try to overpower them. Humans do something different. They study them. They learn from them. They make them extinct. The words hung in the air like a threat. The alien officers looked at each other with new eyes. Some of them stepped slightly away from the human officers in the room. In the cadet quarters, word was spreading fast. Alien students gathered in small groups, talking in whispers. Some were excited, others were worried, a few were scared. Always thought humans were weak, said a reptilian cadet to his friend. They have no claws, no armor, no special abilities. Maybe that's what makes them dangerous, replied his friend, a creature with tentacles for arms. They don't need claws. They use their enemies' claws against them. Guan sat in his room, reading a book about galactic history. He did not seem interested in the chaos he had created. When other cadets knocked on his door to ask questions, he politely sent them away. He had homework to do. But in the command center of the academy, emergency meetings were being called. Reports were being sent to military headquarters across the galaxy. The footage of the trial was being studied by the best tactical minds in known space. We need to update our threat assessment protocols, said General KO to his aide. Humans are not Category 7 warriors. There's something else entirely. What category should we put them in? Asked the aide. General KO looked at the screen. More time. Guan's calm face looked back at him. Create a new category, he said. Category X, Apex Predator Hunter. The aide typed quickly. In databases across the galaxy, a new classification appeared. Next to it was a simple note. Caution. Do not engage in combat scenarios without extreme justification. But in his quiet room, Guan just turned the page of his book. He had a test tomorrow in galactic law. That was more important than what had happened in the arena. After all, it was just another day at the academy. The galaxy was still learning what that meant. 3 days later, Juan sat in the academy's main conference room. The table was round and made of black metal. Around it sat the most important military minds in the galaxy. Generals, admirals, and commanders from dozens of worlds. Wanted answers? G1 looked calm. He wore his regular cadet uniform. His hands were folded on the table. He could have been waiting for a math test, not facing the galaxy's most powerful leaders. At the head of the table sat Supreme Commander Yunji Song. She was human, but older and more experienced than anyone else in the room. Her hair was gray, and her eyes held the weight of 1,000 battles. Cadet Kim, she began, her voice quiet but strong. 3 days ago, you did something that military experts said was impossible? We want to understand how. Yes, ma'am, Giwan replied. What would you like to know? General Yemen Ko leaned forward. The Shadow Fang had killed 347 trained soldiers. The Void Ripper had destroyed entire military squads. The Nethermaw had ended 3 war campaigns. How did you defeat all 3 in 7 seconds? Guan thought for a moment. They were predictable, sir. The room fell silent. Admiral Sung Ho Bei made a sound that might have been laughing. Predictable? These were apex predators from the deadliest worlds we know. Yes, ma'am, Juan said. That's what made them predictable. The alien officers looked confused, but the human officers nodded slowly. They were beginning to understand. Explain, ordered Supreme Commander Song. Ji-Wan stood up and walked to the large screen on the wall. With permission, he started the footage of his trial. The 3 predators appeared on the screen, ready to kill. The Shadow Fang, Juan said, pointing to the dark creature. It's an ambush predator. It hides and strikes from surprise. It's all it knows how to do. So I listened for the sound of its movement and positioned myself where its surprise attack would fail. He moved to the next creature. The Void Ripper uses dimensional tentacles to trap prey. It surrounds them from all directions. But every trap has a weak point. I just had to find where all the tentacles connected. Finally, he pointed to the Nethermaw. This one relies on speed and strength, charges straight at its target. But on its home world, gravity is 12 times stronger. Here its charge was too fast for its own control. I just had to redirect that force. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Instructor Sun Wu Nam spoke up. But how did you know these things? These creatures had never been studied in detail. Smiled for the first time since entering the room. I didn't need to study them, sir. I needed to study predators. What do you mean? Asked Admiral Bay. Every predator follows patterns, Juwan explained. Ambush predators hide and strike. Pack hunters surround their prey. Pursuit predators chase until their target falls. The form doesn't matter. The pattern is always the same. Supreme Commander Song leaned back in her chair. And humans know these patterns? Yes, ma'am. We've had two. The alien officers looked at each other with growing concern. But Juwan wasn't finished. Earth wasn't like other worlds, he continued. Most planets have one or two apex predators. Earth had dozens. Saber-toothed tigers, cave bears, dire wolves, giant eagles, massive snakes, killer whales, great white sharks. He paused and looked around the room. Humans survive them all, not by being stronger or faster, by being smarter, by learning their patterns, by making them extinct. The words hit the room like a bomb. Several alien officers pushed back from the table. Others reached for weapons. They weren't carrying. The humans in the room sat very still. You're saying, General Ko said slowly, that humans are predator specialists. No, sir, Giwan replied. I'm saying humans are predator killers. There's a difference. Commander Park, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. Show them the Earth files. Supreme Commander Song nodded to her aide. The screen changed to show a list of Earth's extinct species. The list was very long. 96% of all large predators that existed when humans evolved are now extinct, Commander Park said. Not from natural causes, from human activity. The alien officers stared at the screen in horror. Species after species had disappeared. All of them were predators. All of them had been more physically powerful than humans. But why? Asked Instructor. Cuban Lim, why did humans kill so many predators? G1 answered simply, because they were threats to our families. The room fell completely silent. This was something the alien minds could barely understand. Most species ran from predators or fought them when cornered. Humans had hunted them down and eliminated them entirely. This is why the trial was easy for you, said Admiral Bay. You've been bred to kill predators. Not bred, ma'am, Guan corrected. Trained. Every human child learns about dangerous animals. You learn their habits, their weaknesses, how to avoid them or stop them. It's part of our education. General Ko looked pale. How many humans know how to do what you did? Guan thought about it. All of us, sir. Some are better at it than others, but every human has the basic knowledge. The implications hit the room like a wave. Earth had billions of humans. If even a small percentage had Jiwan's abilities, that was millions of predator. Killer Supreme Commander Song made a decision. New protocols effective immediately. Human combat abilities are classified at the highest level. No more public trials with apex predators, but why? Asked Instructor Sun Wu Nam. Commander Park answered. Because if the galaxy's criminals and enemies learn what humans can do, they'll unite against us. If our allies learn what humans can do, they might decide we're too dangerous to keep around. The meeting ended quietly. The alien officers left quickly, whispering among themselves. The human officers stayed behind. Well, said Supreme Commander Song to Commander Park, we wanted our allies to respect human capabilities. Yes, ma'am, replied Commander Park. I just hope we haven't made them fear us instead. In his room that night, Jiwan studied for his next exam. But across the galaxy, In government buildings and military headquarters, emergency meetings were being held. New policies were being written. New safeguards were being planned. A single question was being asked on 1,000 worlds. If humans can kill apex predators so easily, what does that make us? The answer was simple, but no one wanted to say it out loud. If humans were predator killers, then everyone else was prey. The galaxy was a different place now. Everyone knew it, except G1, who just wanted to pass his galactic law exam.